Hi, did you know that Pilates springs aren't just one weight? They're actually ruled by Hooke's law. And today we're going to go over that physics principle. Hi, my name is Kayleen. I'm a mechanical engineer and a Pilates instructor, and I teach other Pilates instructors about the physics of Pilates. So what is Hooke's law? Hooke's law basically means that the more you stretch a spring, the heavier it gets. If you only take one thing away from this video, let it be that. Mathematically, Hooke's law can be explained by an equation, F equals kx plus b. F is the spring resistance, K is the spring constant or the stiffness, X is how far the spring has been stretched, and B is the initial tension. Now that's a lot of letters. It's kind of hard to visualize if you're not super into math. So let's look at it with a graph. Here's an imaginary blue spring from an imaginary Pilates company. Down here on the x-axis, or the horizontal axis, you have the spring extension, how far the spring is stretched. And on the y-axis, you have the spring resistance, or how heavy the spring is. And generally, you can see that the more you stretch the spring, so you travel along the x-axis, the heavier the spring gets, which means it gets higher along the y-axis. So where do you get the K and the B on the graph? Well, the B is the initial tension. So that's where the blue line crosses that vertical axis at 0 inches of extension. And then the K is the slope of the line. So for every inch of extension, how many pounds does the weight increase? If you want to know how heavy the spring is at a certain spring extension, you basically look at how high that line is on the graph. So here at 0 inches of extension, that initial tension is about 12 pounds. At 6 inches of spring extension, it's about 20 pounds. And at 12 inches of extension, it's about 28 pounds. If you want to know the exact weights for the springs that you're using, many of the manufacturers publish graphs or charts so that you can interpret how heavy the spring is at every extension it might be at. So what does this mean for your teaching? Well, it means that no spring has just one weight. The weight of the spring is totally dependent on how far you stretch the spring. Some people may stretch the same spring further than their neighbor, which means they're actually moving a little bit heavier weight. And some people may stretch the spring less than their neighbor, which means they're moving less weight. Understanding this principle is vital for your teaching. I have a ton more videos that dive into specific scenarios in the Pilates world, so be sure and check them out if you want to learn more.